There are negotiations right now, or there were negotiations in the Senate among this bipartisan group of senators who may have a bill on the border before the Senate this week. The president put out a statement a few days ago that said that this bill would shut down the border when it becomes overwhelmed. And if given that authority, I would use it the day I signed the bill into law. Is the border overwhelmed now?
That is, of course, the Democrat propagandist John Berman at CNN. He doesn't follow the news. I'll just give him credit for being ignorant, because the other possibility is that he's the biggest liar his mother's ever seen. Why'd you bring his mother into it? She should be ashamed. He can close the border now with existing authorities. He's the president of the United States. President Trump used those authorities to secure our border. Joe Biden is a liar. I know, because he's lying. That's one of the indicators right there. And so is John Berman, because, he did too well on Jeopardy to be that stupid. So I will conclude that he's not that stupid, and therefore the only other possibility is that he's fundamentally corrupt, dishonest, a liar. I know he's got to follow the news a little bit. He's there in the newsroom for at least a couple of hours a day, I think. Yeah, the Senate bill has to be passed that won't count the first 5,000 illegal aliens a day, which is, how many is that? Like, 3.8 billion people a year, something ridiculous coming illegally into the country. Yeah, the Senate bill is Chuck Schumer's Lizard King bill. In the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, should call it the Lizard King bill. And the House has already said they're not going to pass the bill with the conditions currently. But they can't really speak to the elements in the bill because it's a secret. Nobody's been given the bill to read that they say is a border security bill, the Democrats, but it isn't. It's a lie, because they lie all the time. The Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, he's got that creepy lizard smile like a creepy cartoon character from the Middle Ages, and he's a creepy liar. But we'll get into the border, and we'll get into, because there's mayhem everywhere. We've got the border, we've got mayhem in the Middle East because of Joe Biden, mayhem throughout the world. There's war in Europe. We're fighting a proxy war with Russia, since we keep using the word proxy in the Middle East for the Iranian proxies. And sure enough, they're Iranian proxies. They're Iranian agents, we should call them. The Iranian agents are waging war. The Houthis attacking shipping going into the Red Sea, which leads you to the Suez Canal, the Mediterranean Sea, Western Europe, the Americas. Don't have to go around Africa, which is why Europeans came up with the excellent idea of digging a canal from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. Big step saver there. Thank you. Thank you. I actually said a couple of weeks ago it was England, and that was in error. It was France really driving the train on the Suez Canal. Your Western European powers, you're welcome. The patriarchy. I love the patriarchy. Michael, do you love the patriarchy? Hoorah, hoorah for the patriarchy. Jasmine, you love the patriarchy? She's, a little so-so. It depends on... Yes and no, yes and no. Electricity, you're in favor of electricity? Electricity is good. See, electricity is really good. Air travel, instantaneous global communication, medical cures, all that good stuff. You're welcome, honestly. Nothing. It's nothing. We just kind of do this stuff because we got out of bed this morning, wanted to cure cancer today, so never mind that. All right, let's get to the idiots in Washington, D.C., the government, the news media, but what's the difference? Honestly, it's the merger of state and corporate power, what Benito Mussolini would describe as fascism, what we're living in today. But let's go to the border, I just said, didn't even know I was going to go to this audio next, but I just said that Biden has the presidential authority. John Berman is pretending to not be aware of this because he's a lion Sacagawea. When he goes home, he dresses like Sacagawea, and he dances around a flower pot. It's kind of a strange habit he has, but he does that. Dance around going, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Strange habit that he has. Let's go to the White House briefing yesterday where Cobble Kirby was there, known because of all the lies he told about our tragic evacuation from Kabul, Afghanistan. He's our very own Baghdad Bob, a disgraced former naval officer. A sad story, really, in the end. Cobble Kirby was there. He's the spokesmodel for the National Security Council because, Cringe, who is a woman and a woman of color and LGBTQ on the spectrum, that makes her a hat trick, a Democrat Party hat trick. She's 3 goals in 1. So she's the actual press secretary, but Cobble Kirby actually answers the questions there because Cringe, who does a pretty good impersonation of Raggedy Ann, she's not so good at answering questions. And we got some of her today, too. She says some pretty incredible stuff. Those 3 Americans that were killed by Iran, by agents of Iran, they died fighting for the Biden administration, she said. They're loyal to the Biden administration. They were. And then they were killed because Joe Biden is such a weak sister in the White House. But let's go to the White House press briefing with Cobble Kirby yesterday and a news reporter that brought it to Kirby and said, hey, we've got this crisis at the border. Even some Democrats admit it with their tiny, corrupt little brains. And President Trump used executive authority to remain in Mexico to apply for asylum because more than 90% are not actually eligible to even apply for asylum. But never mind, I guess you can apply, but you're not eligible. And so here is the back and forth with Cobble Kirby and an unnamed reporter at the White House yesterday.
Are there not steps that he could use under executive authority to some measures to kind of seal some of the border efforts?
He has said he's willing to use executive measures, and
when
if he gets the bill passed, if he gets border funding, and it includes those authorities, he'll use those authorities.
Well, that is a huge crock of BS. The whole point is he has those authorities now. Congress doesn't have to pass any bill for him to have those authorities. Cobble Kirby is a lion sack of Jewia. The city is filled with lion sacks of Jewia. How can we have so many lion sacks of Jewia? I think I'm going to go into selling buckskin Sacagawea dresses so they can all wear them at home and at work. Oh, he's willing to use them. If Congress, and then this is this BS, and it's just pure BS, and if we had a legitimate news media, remember how the cackling locusts in the White House briefing room sounded when President Trump was in there and his spokespersons were in there, men and women? They screamed and shouted and threw coffee mugs and overturned chairs and lit things on fire while shouting down the press spokesperson because they're all vile Democrat activists posing as journalists. Just saying. Completely crazy. He's willing to, but the Congress has to. I just asked about executive authority. The Congress doesn't have to pass anything about executive authority. Executive authority exists now. Congress couldn't change executive authority. It's in the Constitution. President Trump used said executive authority and secured our border to a level not seen in decades, and certainly not seen since Joe Biden took over, because he eliminated Remain in Mexico. He eliminated Title 42. He enacted the amnesty program where everybody gets amnesty. He waved everybody into the country, and Cobble Kirby, you're a liar. Let me just say that. Let's go to Congressman Eric Schmitt. Congressman Eric Schmitt in the House of Representatives, United States government, talking about the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who has already declared that this really corrupt Senate bill, which no one has read, and they're not leaking elements of it to the press because they love a good surprise, like the Manson family loved a good surprise. They, a little bing, ba-ding, ba-ding-a-ding, and then Jack in the Box, and all the bad stuff pops out. And they deceive the American people and lie to the American people constantly. And the news media is okay with that. That one reporter asked a question. Very good. Congressman Eric Schmidt on this really bad Senate bill.
Speaker Johnson was very clear today that this thing is DOA. So here's my hope is that we've been told that it would take a majority of the minority, meaning you maybe need 25 Republicans to vote for this. So my hope is that people will see this turd for what it is, not vote for it because it's DOA in the House. Why in the world will we go through this when Joe Biden has existing authority? We should be beating up on him for the 9 million people that he is allowed to come here illegally. It's as simple as that. So this is a fool's errand, an exercise in futility, because we can have a secure border if you actually had a president interested in executing the law.
Congressman Eric Schmidt is 100% right. CNN is very excited today. They're touching themselves. Biden endorses emerging deal, talking about the corrupt Lizard King bill in the Senate. Biden endorses emerging deal to give U.S. new power to clamp down on border. That headline is a lie. Manu Raju is the liar. He is employed by CNN, and that is a crock. And again, I'm not going to give him credit for being that stupid. I will instead point out that he's that dishonest, that he's that corrupt, because he follows the news. It's his job. He knows that there will be no power to clamp down on the border, that they want money to send people down there to process millions more in. And Representative Eric Schmidt used the number 9 million illegals coming across our border. Just amazing. The Hill left-wing rag in Washington with the headline, Trump says, quote, blame it on me, end quote, if border bill fails. President Trump has been very vocal that this is a bad border bill and should not be supported by Republicans. President Trump is correct. This is a tragically corrupt and bad, corrupt might be the word of the day today, a lot of Democrats. It is a bad border bill. It does not serve the interests of the American people. The Washington Post, a left-wing terrorist outfit, Donald Trump brags about his efforts to scuttle bipartisan border deal. What do they have? Senator Lankford from Oklahoma has been suckered into this. And I saw him this morning, and he's just wrong. He's misguided. And it's dead on arrival in the House of Representatives, so it's not going anywhere, and that's good. And then they'll blame the Republicans, which is the whole goal. The whole point of this exercise is to give the Democrats, with the help of their pals in the news media, a talking point that the Republicans scuttled a border deal, and the lie is so big that no one would dare not believe it, just like their boy Gurgle envisioned it, honestly. Just amazing. It's a terrible, horrible bill that allows millions in legally, even though they're illegal, but it just magically makes them legal. There's amnesty. There's money to send people down to the border to process millions more into the country as they change the demographics of the United States of America. This is the fundamental transformation of America that Barack Obama threatened. This is Barack Obama's third term as president. Look out for Michelle Obama to ride in at the last moment. Amazing stuff. Just amazing. Now I've got great. Well, actually, let's do number 3 right now. Newt Gingrich, the great former Speaker of the House, balanced the budget, worked with Bill Clinton while he was groping the interns. But Newt didn't know that Bill was groping the interns. Newt Gingrich on this ridiculous bill that Senator Lankford, one Republican senator, is supporting.
I've been an active Republican my whole life. Every once in a while, part of the party becomes suicidally stupid. That bill is suicidally stupid. It makes no sense. I will oppose it every way I can, and I hope that every Republican activist in the country will oppose it. It is a total sellout, and it's just dumb.
And it's just dumb. That makes it pretty clear. Newt knows a thing or two about legislation, about bills, about the many ways in which bills are corrupted, knows about the big lie that is the Democrat Party in bed with the news media, the merger of state and corporate power. They lie to us. We know they're lying to us. They know we know they're lying to us, and they keep lying to us. Welcome to the Democrat Party's Soviet America.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgel and the Third Reich in terms of telling a big lie? I just want to make sure that's what I heard you say.
That's right.
Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit chrisplantcruise.com. Bam, ba-dam, ba-dam, ba-dam. And I've got more. I got the Democrats. Mayorkas is looking, Alejandro Mayorkas, our Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, looking at an impeachment process, which is moving forward in the House of Representatives. The Democrats will murder it, of course, because they love corruption. They're kind of amazing, their love of corruption. All right, let's take una más phone call, and then in the next block, lots of audio for you on very important stories. Right now, let's go to James, calling from Tyson's Corner, Virginia. James, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you very kindly for taking my call, Mr. Plant. Got a quote from a former republic that became an empire. We started out as a republic, and it goes, a nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, and heard in the very halls of government itself. And that is Marcus Tullius Cicero. And I just want to thank the call screener for allowing me to have an opportunity to state my case. I want to thank you for taking my call. Wish you a fantastic day, and thank you again, sir.
Thank you, James. Very nice. Not everyone quotes Cicero on a daily basis, and it's a very apt Cicero quote, to be sure. And most people don't refer him to as Marcus Tullius Cicero either. He just goes by he's kind of like Prince, is Elvis Cicero, ancient Greek philosopher and thinker, and voice of reason, obviously. A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. The enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves among those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. Everything old is new again, and those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it and all of that good stuff. A great Cicero quote from James. Thanks. Nice element of the show. Now we've got war, mayhem, and more Biden coming up. The Democrats are really, there's an epidemic of mental illness in the United States. CNN is obsessed today. They're whipping out QAnon because people are suggesting that the Biden White House is going to use Taylor Swift. The Biden campaign will use Taylor Swift, who sings songs and dates a football player, allegedly, and going to use her in the campaign because she has a lot of Twitter followers or something like that. And now, if you point that out, CNN accuses you of being a QAnon conspiracy theorist. Never mind the facts of the case. We'll get to that as well. Now, let me go to Alejandro Mayorkas, who has, in fact, I think James might have been talking about him, about the treacherous, treasonous ones inside the wall, right? Inside the gate. And the Democrats have a lot of people inside the gates that are not on our side, not by a long shot. And Alejandro Mayorkas certainly is one of those. It's his job, among other things, to make sure that Department of Homeland Security, that our border is under control. But he's not doing his job. If this is him doing his job, then he should have been fired long ago. But Joe Biden is waving the world in, including hundreds and hundreds of people on the terror watch list. We're catching terrorists and mass murderers. The mass murderer from Brazil, convicted in Brazil of murdering 11 people. 11 people. That's a massacre. He had been a cop in Brazil involved in this massacre. Sentenced to 275 years and 11 months, I think was the sentence. And then he escaped from prison because it's Brazil and made his way to New Hampshire, where he's minding his own business, until ICE, which the Democrats want to defund and have stand down, found him and arrested him. Now, NBC fake news today. House Republicans to hold hearing on impeaching Homeland Security Mayorkas. Tuesday's hearing, that's today, is another step toward a full House impeachment vote as Democrats accuse Republicans of playing politics. Wait a minute. You're saying that politics might become involved in our politics? That politicians might be involved in politics? That our political system might be political? What next? NBC Fake News had 3 Democrats type up a corrupt story, and they're not on our side. Kyle Stewart and Julia Ainsley and Lori Rampani. Rampani? Sure. Why not? They typed up the story. Members of the House Homeland Security Committee are meeting Tuesday to discuss the Republican-led impeachment articles against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who used to be a Cuban American. Now he's just a leftist. House Republicans, all Cuban Americans should be ashamed of him. House Republicans accuse Mayorkas and the Biden administration of disregarding federal laws on immigration and seek to, no, you think? I mean, President Trump, we had, let's see, over the 4 years of President Trump as president, we encountered 11 people at our southern border that were on the terror watch list. More than 300 during the 3 years of Joe Biden. Wonder if that has anything to do with anything. Shall I go into the numbers? More than 303,000 illegals crossed our border in December. This is January. We had more illegals cross our border in the last 3 months of last year, the last quarter, a number greater than the population of 33 of our states in the United States of America. No problem. Chicago is being overrun. New York is being overrun by illegal aliens. Denver's healthcare system is going bankrupt. 700,000-ish people in Denver. 40,000 illegal aliens just rolled into town, filling every open space, every hotel. And in Chicago, the Democrat mayor there has just had to announce that they have too many people filling their hotels and everything else. And they were planning on giving everybody free housing in hotels, paid for by the taxpayers, in perpetuity, apparently. But then they announced they were going to kick them out on the street, where it's freezing in January and February in Chicago, where there might be a mass kill-off there, because cold is more dangerous than warm, and a warmer planet is a more hospitable planet than a colder planet. And the left wants a colder planet. They hate people, Chicago Sun-Times today, mayor delays migrant shelter evictions to mid-March or later, because not a bright man, the mayor of Chicago, let's go Brandon Johnson. And he was going to kick them all out on the streets of Chicago in February, where the Arctic breeze comes blowing down Lake Michigan from Canada. And it's cold out there, let me just tell you. But never mind that. All right, so the Republicans holding a hearing on impeaching Mayorkas because he refuses to do his job. And so does Joe Biden. And he should be impeached also for dereliction of duty, contempt for the Constitution, contempt for the oath of office that he put his hand on. Did he put his hand on a Bible, or was it like, gay child porn, gender queer, maybe something like that? So according to the first impeachment article set forth by House Republicans, NBC has to say Republicans in every sentence, Mayorkas has willfully and systematically refused to comply with federal immigration laws. Well, he's just a cabinet secretary in charge of this. Why would that matter? Now listen again. Republicans blame Mayorkas. The NBC News has to put with the word Republicans. Democrats would feed your daughter to MS-13. They'd be spitting out her bones and belching by the time they were done. Republicans blame Mayorkas for allowing millions of people to enter the country illegally, quote, with many unlawfully remaining, end quote, in the U.S., according to the articles. Now, NBC knows all of this is true, but they've converted the truth into a political food fight on behalf of their party, the Democrat Party. The second impeachment article accuses him of breaching the public trust and knowingly obstructing lawful oversight of the Department of Homeland Security. Alejandro N. Mayorkas knowingly made false statements to Congress. That's fine. Under oath is even better. When you're a Democrat, that's okay. That the border is secure. He said the border is secure under oath. And that the border is no less secure than it was previously. These are obvious, fatuous lies. That the border is closed, he said, and that the Department of Homeland Security has operational control of the border. The second article of impeachment says NBC News knows that all of those lies are lies, but NBC News is on the side of the lie. The individuals that typed up this story and the executives that allow this story to breathe and see the light of day. Now let's go to the lying Democrats. The lying Democrat who's in charge of the Democrats in the House of Representatives is Hakeem Jeffries. He was mentored by his uncle, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, a famous anti-Semite, anti-American racist. And Hakeem Jeffries, is Hakeem a traditional American name of any kind? The Hakeem Jeffries is out there saying the impeachment of Mayorkas is not something that the Republicans should be doing.
This is a ridiculous effort. President Biden has been working hard to negotiate a bipartisan agreement in the Senate to try to fix our broken immigration system.
This is their talking point. Our immigration system is broken. Funny, because it wasn't broken in 2020. It was very much under control in 2020. Very much under control. I'm all for 1 million legal immigrants coming to the United States every year that go through the process, and we check to make sure that they're not psycho killer, wanted mass murderers out of Brazil or, child rapists out of France. And, well, I'm thinking of Roman Polanski there, who, of course, got a standing ovation from all the Democrats at the Oscars as a fugitive child rapist. And that's the QAnon conspiracy theory, right, that they're talking about on CNN this morning, that Democrats are child sexual abusers. Never mind gender queer and all the lessons in school for grammar school. The standing ovation for Roman Polanski, who drugged with Quaaludes and repeatedly raped a 13-year-old girl. And he got a standing ovation led by Harvey Weinstein, who is a famous child sex abuser in Hollywood. And they all stood and cheered. All right, but let's get back to this. Congressman August Pfluger, who is not a Hakeem Jeffries, America-hating leftist, pointed out the problems, some of them, associated with our open border.
The sole job of that secretary is to keep us safe from terrorists. We have over 300 people who match the terror watch list who have entered this country. He has done everything but securing our country.
That is a fact. He's done everything but, and he should be impeached and thrown out on his can, his keister, his Congressman Mike McCall, also a Republican on the side of the United States of America, unlike Hakeem Jeffries and unlike Joe Biden, who is a sock puppet for Barack Obama.
I think his dereliction of duty, his failure to uphold the laws of the nation, and his failure to the public and violating his own oath of office to protect the nation from all enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic, all enemies, protect. Well, they don't do that. That's not their bag, baby. It really isn't. Joyless Reed is a very severely disturbed woman who's paid huge sums of money by MSDNC to spread left-wing, racist, homophobic propaganda. Although she pulled back on the homophobic, she lied about that, remember? It was all her social media, anti-gay stuff. And when she was caught, she said she was hacked, and sinister forces, probably Republicans, used her social media to put all that anti-gay stuff. That's what she said. She lied. And Joyless Reed on Joe Biden. Now, she plays a soundbite of Joe Biden saying something incredibly ignorant and stupid and untrue. And then they came back to her on camera live, and she accidentally used the F word, the curse word, the one that you shouldn't be using, even though it's cable TV. Doesn't violate the law or anything. But and here's Joyless Reed with her little slip yesterday on her television show using the curse word, the F word.
Over the weekend, President Biden said he's ready to take action if Congress is serious about solving the border issue.
Lie.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly.
Lie.
And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another f***ing war.
Oops.
Still trying to kill the deal. He bragged about blocking progress and said, please blame him if it fails.
Right. That's and so what was that part? Starting another effing war, she said, talking about Iran, because Iran is attacking us and cowards like Joy Reid would never get into harm's way. She's got a limousine and a penthouse and New York, and she only goes to restaurants where they treat her like she's the Queen of France.
And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another f***ing war.
There it is. And instead of she's, caught live on camera. Oops, Joe Biden starting another effing war. Well, the Democrats, they're the party of peace. As long as you don't count the American Civil War, where their president was Jefferson Davis, or getting us into World War I, where their president was progressive Democrat Woodrow Wilson. Getting into World War II, progressive Democrat FDR. Getting into the Korean War, Democrat Harry Truman. Getting into the Vietnam War, first JFK and then LBJ really getting us in. Richard Nixon got us out. Ronald Reagan got us out of the Cold War. Your Democrat Party. And then Joyless Reed at the end of her TV show had to offer a little bit of an apology for her F-bomb moment.
Before we go, I just want to apologize very quickly. I was chatting during a clip that was playing, and, we try to keep this show very PG-13, so I just want to apologize to anyone who was listening to my behind-the-scenes chatter. Deeply, deeply apologize for that, because it's PG-13 up around here.
Yeah, it wasn't behind the scenes. It went out live on the air. That's not behind the scenes, but I know you're the journalist. We'll leave it to you to frame things correctly. And by the way, what she said was that Joe Biden, her hero president, what do you hear Gavin Newsom talking about Joe Biden? He wants to give him a tongue bath, I'll tell you that much. And he's a lion, Sacagawea, too, but get to that. But that was Joyless Reed saying out loud that Joe Biden's getting us into another war, a war in the Middle East, a war with Iran, which is war through weakness, through fecklessness. Oops, she slipped. A little bit of truth. She tries to avoid that, and she's pretty good at avoiding the truth, as a rule. And then her fake little apology at the end. Yeah, what about you saying Joe Biden's getting us into another beeping war? What about that, Joyless? And why are you wearing a Donald Trump wig? That is the strangest Donald Trump wig I've ever seen on an African-American woman. Let's go back to the telephones. We've got, what do you hear Gavin Newsom sucking up to Joe Biden? Pretty amazing. I have more Newt Gingrich, too, saying smart things. But right now, let's go to Sid, calling from Los Angeles, California. El Cid, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning.
What I wanted to talk about Fani Willis, that we're going on about it the wrong way. Well, basically, she's a racketeer. She noticed that she could make money by starting a case against Trump. And the more charges, the more time she brought him to court, her boyfriend was making a lot of money. And I'm involved with some tests that I take as a government official every year about the amount of money in conflict of interest. Anything over $25 basically is a conflict of interest. And here's we're talking about $500,000. The whole thing is a racket for her. And she found some charges to bring forward, and she's just making money on it. And I think that's what has to be looked at rather than the political issues, that she's in charge of all the ethics in Atlanta as a district attorney. She should know all the ethics law, and I'm sure she takes the test every year about what conflict of interest means. And I think in this case, the Attorney General in Georgia should be removing her from office, and this whole case should be thrown out since it's, let's say, the fruit of the poison tree, that her own intention was to make money, not to bring a trial here. If there's a case against it, it would have to be all started over again by an impartial person. That's my belief.
Well, I think that you're on to her. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you're absolutely right. As the DA, she's supposed to be the guarantor, the protector of ethics in her office and in the district attorney's operation. And it's obvious that she's not up to the job, since she hired her married boyfriend and put him on the payroll the day before he filed for divorce. And the ex-wife, I think they're still technically married, is not too amused by the whole thing. And she's been talking about the bank records, and because she had access to his bank records, and traveling, going on, I think, 2 different sea cruises, Napa Valley Hotel, and all the money. And she has to sign the paychecks, Sid, for her boyfriend, who had never prosecuted a felony. And then she brought him in for this political lynch job, which the Democrats are so famous for. And it's a racket. It is, whether it violates racketeering, it might as well. She's accusing President Trump and all of his people of racketeering. And the real, again, it's like the Russian playbook. They are guilty of whatever it is that they're accusing you of being guilty of. And that's a form of deflection, I think. Sid, you're right.